Yeah, I don't know, man. You ever just feel like life is just catapulting towards some greater purpose?
Average fat cats with bloated ego. We are the only DJ crazy enough to tattoo Jackie Brown on his ass.
Hi, I'm M. Night Shyamalan, and this is the
Extended clip.
Yeah.
So we are kind of letting the fans down.
I mean, we'll talk long on old. I'm sure there's a lot. There's a lot to say.
What else is there to say? It's a beach that makes you old.
That's
Can you get enough of these freaking jokes? I can't.
I've been trying to think of one with. Well, I know what was the one that Sean said in the Discord, something about like penis size or something. It was
you guys could fill in the blanks
it was
on that
old
one,
for
probably.
penis size, but I've been thinking of one thing that's been in my mind that's really fucking stupid. That I can't think of what it would be. Is a combination of chode and old. Choled. But I can't what would that be?
That's just that.
There's something wrong with this beach. I'm so choled.
That's just old, dude. We didn't see the chodes that they were developing. The geezers, you know what I mean? Choled and old is the same thing, bro.
I don't think that's a part of getting old.
Right? Your dick gets smaller as you get older
and fatter.
Been the anamorphic lenses fooling you there. I don't think there was any girth expansion in the penile region in this movie. But anyway,
chode is such a negative term that you almost don't think of it's the width aspect of it, as a positive.
Welcome to Extended Clip. It's episode 118. I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Averill.
I'm old.
Okay.
I'm JT White, and I'm gonna stay young forever.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. So you know it, you love it. It's the movie that's sweeping the nation. Well, I guess another couple of movies started somewhat sweeping the nation since, this isn't as timely as our other episodes on new releases, but it's old. It came out about a week and a half ago. If you're hearing this, I guess it came out 2 weeks ago. And it's the new film by M. Night Shyamalan. His new original thriller. His first, venture back at a major studio in quite some time. His first time shooting on 35 millimeter in almost a decade. This, look, is it a return to form? Is it a progression? Is it all of the above? I'd say yes. I would just start by saying yes. It's everything you want from M. Night. It's all the stages of his career with new stuff thrown in, and it's just a great time at the movies.
Oh yeah, I was anticipating this one, and whenever you anticipate something, it's almost it could be easy to let you down. But I guess there was a reason I was anticipating it because I knew it was going to be good. M. Night, strikes again. And I think you're right. It is if there's a lot of, I think obviously, something like The Happening comes to mind when you watch this movie. But also it's it does just, in terms of tone or whatever, it does feel like Shyamalan's kind of hitting on a much, I don't know, kind of a sharper level, so to speak. A little bit more, cutthroat.
Yeah, it's a little nasty.
Yeah.
It's a little nasty. He cited the Twilight Zone TV show as an influence on this one. And I feel like there's a lot of that where it's either on the surface or kind of off to the side of the main narrative. Take, for example, Crystal, the very, vain, beautiful wife of the schizophrenic racist doctor. Her fatal flaw maybe is, both her calcium deficiency and her vanity, as right when she gets to the beach, she's, taking selfies and stuff like that. And it's all quite obvious in a kind of Twilight Zone kind of thing. And the Twilight Zone influence really spoke to me in a way that's this seems like in M. Night's big book of stories, this could just be one you flip to one week, and then the next week there's another one. It feels so kind of off the cuff, so almost effortless, and just it really took me aback in that sense. JT, how did you feel about this movie?
I loved it. It was my first M. Night. I was doing my Philly boy wrong. I'll admit it, I was scared. Not like Eddie because of the content of horror movies, but
I forgot about that whole debacle.
He has a big reputation, and it's I'm not worried. I wasn't worried about hating him like the cowards do, but I was will I love him as much as the heads? And I feel like this was a fantastic introduction. my dear friend Nico, he met M. Night when he was like a PA on Split or something.
Oh, wow.
Said he was a lovely guy.
I didn't know Nico worked on Split. Nico has been on the show before.
He's in the credits, yeah.
Wow. That, for eagle-eyed credit viewers out there, you might want to return to episode 18 of our podcast.
Which has a lot of views because it's called 18 Barely Legal, which is definitely because, like, I remember seeing that earlier, like, in the podcast, being like, this one has a lot of views. And it's like definitely some perverts on SoundCloud looking for something to jack off to.
Listening to Barely Legal audio.
Our ploy worked. It got us advertisers.
So, I mean, let's break down who's in this film. The main family, you have Guy, played by Gail Garcia Bernal, and then you have Vicky Cripes, not quite sure. She plays Priska, his husband, and they got their kids, Trent and Maddox. It's like, come on with these names. I love how like slightly off everybody's name is, including Jaren, who says his name like 10 times. I'm Jaren. I'm a nurse. It's so funny. I really like how the M. Night idiosyncrasies, the things that are just slightly off, sometimes a little corny, sometimes just a little weird, and just kind of that slight unease of the unknown that always leads to the horror. Often of the unknown in his movies, and it just comes right from like the character names and the settings in this movie. It's like everything's off right away, kind of.
Mm-hmm. And like there's, the haters, will say, oh, the dialogue feels weird. It's not how real people speak.
Yeah.
Not how blue collar Americans speak like me. You know what I mean? That's what people usually say. But like I don't know. I've always thought there's like a stilted quality to his dialogue that kind of increases the tension in these thriller movies he's making.
He uses heightened dialogue the way that kind of pulpy genre filmmakers kind of always have. It's easy to make the comparison to like 50s B movies, but that's kind of what I've always like. That's always kind of been my guiding light through M. Night is that combination of the sentimentality and the like really overwhelmingly strong sense of melodrama, combined with both like a really like radical form and a kind of a strange acting sensibility that reminded me of stuff like Invasion of the Body Snatchers when I was first getting into his movies.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up the Jaren performance, and that's like one of my favorites. Just like consistently, he's like such an awkward character, but in like the most fun way possible.
Talking about kind of he has that melodrama, and he has other aspects to him. I think with Old, this feels like his most condensed movies, where he's kind of switching through tones with ease, and like to the point where certain scenes, and this is due to talk about radical form, it's probably more radical than ever here. M. Night kind of finding creative ways to kind of move his camera around this beach, and the birth scene comes to mind as a scene that is so many things at once and transfers so many different ways, and the form of how it's shot, and it makes all of this possible. But it's like it's funny. It's funny him being like we're never. Me and my girlfriend are never gonna, divorce.
We're gonna get married and never get divorced.
And then like, his girlfriend's mom is kind of like doing some weird, just going away from the tension of the situation.
Well, she goes back into the knockout zone.
Yeah. and then, she's freaking out. You're like, well, that's a very unpleasant emotion there. And then it's like, oh, the baby's born, the miracle of birth, something positive. And then almost, right before you could, you don't even get a chance to think about it, and then right as the camera's panning back, the baby's dead.
Yeah, it's just like you get that like the camera gliding through all these arguments that are like kind of, you get the creepy, you get like funny, and then it just like the sound of like the baby like crying, just feeling like it's from behind you, and then just like by the time the camera turns around, it's fucking croaked. It's dead.
Because it's all on one dolly that seems like it must go like 150 or 200 fucking feet.
He brought out the tracks.
Yeah, he brought out the long fucking track for this shot, and it literally just pans or not pans, it dollies from one end of that strip of beach to the other. And for those who don't know, the film takes place on a little beach that, if you don't know, makes you old. They're something in a rock formation that causes the cells to grow very fast. And we don't need to get into the minutia of all of that.
The characters do.
Oh, the characters do, for sure. I mean, they got to figure out how to get off this damn beach.
So that, let them do the math. They already did it.
But when you said it might be his most radical movie in terms of like form, I think that's definitely true, because in terms of location, he just has this one strip of land to work with and the elements therein, the sand, the water, etc. And apparently also a lot of those rocks are, digitally inserted. This was shot on 35 millimeter, and, there's a lot of film grain to it, but there's also quite a bit of sly CG trickery that the naked eye might miss, I'll just say.
It's an interesting aspect, because to all of this, you also get kind of like the show Survivor feel to it.
The alliances.
Like this, like it does, like has a slight reality television influence to it, as like, I don't know. It's like that classic scenario. It's like we're all on the beach. And we all got to make it work. And like, but of course, M. Night's tendencies are more cinematic. It doesn't feel like a reality TV show. But it's amazing how many different things he's working with here to, tell this story. And it like him setting that one location, I feel like kind of gave him. This is me talking out of my ass, but I feel like it gave him the comfort just to really just go for it in terms of like those dollies and just.
It's the same also with the staging as well as the camera movement, because in so many of these sequences, the camera movement is just following the characters that are doing this crazy blocking, like I was amazed by that freeze tag scene. This is right when right before the first dead body is discovered, right when the beach is being revealed as being a little off. You see the youngest kid, Trent, frozen in a game of freeze tag, and the camera is just dolling back and forth, zooming in and out, panning left and right, just going absolutely batshit to cover this game of freeze tag. And then there's a video from Vanity Fair, I believe, of M. Night like breaking down this scene, and he talks about how he just like gave the kids the movement first, and like let the camera operators try over and over to kind of catch up with it the right way. And he's citing, I guess, the Australian New Wave in terms of the stylistic influence on this scene. I haven't seen any of those fucking movies, but I guess I have to watch Picnic at Hanging Rock now.
No, yeah, you know what, M. Night, I'll do some homework. I'll watch some Peter.
I'll watch some homework.
Yeah, because what you showed us with this movie, maybe homework leads you somewhere.
Exactly. This man did his homework. Absolutely. Like, you listen to him talk about this movie, and it's so funny because there's obviously like the philosophical quandaries and also the notions of like where he is in his own personal life with his family, but also he just like can't stop listing movies that influenced it. And it totally shows in the form. It feels both classical and radical, if that makes sense. It feels like the work that the radical filmmakers made in classic Hollywood, which is about the highest compliment you can fucking give a movie.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I also think with like talking about like how he plays with a sense of space and like just one location at the beach, there are some points where, especially during those like long like dolly movements, where you get like a really clear sense of space and like the layout of the land. But other times he'll like abstract it in like such an intense way where he's like either like hiding things for like the effect, or just like to make it like unsettling. Like I think there are a few shots where it's like not quite like kind of like a medium close up on like characters, and it will be just them like against the sky, and they could be like fucking anywhere. And so many points where it's just like, okay, these characters are at like this point on the beach, and you just split up the different people, and it just like, I don't know, you get a sense that they could be like anywhere.
To speak, kind of that got me thinking of, I feel like the actors selected here, mainly the Cripes and Bernal, I feel like he really chose actors that could kind of pull off the material he was looking for, people who could really sell a reaction shot. And some of the reaction shots, specifically from Bernal, I was kind of like when they first, are realizing that, it's making their kids older, and you kind of get that great shot where it's like the back of his now older daughter's head and him just kind of soaking it all in. And, that takes, great acting ability to really sell this very long reaction shot where the terror consistently stays on his face and is like, mutates. And it's, I don't know, really, I don't know, I feel like criticisms people gave of The Happening, which I think are unwarranted, but if I'm going to see it from where they see it, is like, maybe it is better that Bernal says this type, or reacts this way than Mark Wahlberg. Even though I love Mark is so strong.
I love Wahlberg in The Happening. I am not afraid to say it.
And like I love that movie, but it's just like I think he has that in mind, and I feel like Cripes and Bernal are like kind of too perfect in terms of like status and just ability to really pull this movie off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that scene where their children are kind of revealed to them the first time they age, Cripes and Bernal have so much heavy lifting to do. You have the scene leading up to it where M. Night is not showing us these characters' faces, what they look like now. He's showing Trent and Kara, the daughter of the doctor, who we'll get to the doctor. He's just showing them like in weird close-ups of their body, kind of. It's like a medium close-up kind of with her on the left side of the frame, him on the right, but it's like her shoulder and his like side kind of, and you just hear the kind of changed voices, and it's so strange. And when Vicky Krieps finally comes to, wrangle them, not realizing that those are her kids that are standing in front of her, when Trent hugs her, she like totally backs off at first too, and it's that strangeness of that embrace that really, I don't know, it really sold me on Krieps' performance in that moment. Her ability to kind of like play off of these just insane, surreal scenarios with such a, I don't know, I wouldn't say a realistic reaction, but such a powerful reaction.
Yeah, I think it brings the kind of the necessary push of emotion that M. Night's looking for in that scene. And a lot of the other actors, like you said, kind of get to just have kind of fun, goofy performances. Pretty much everyone else, except for the children, of course, they kind of have to do a little bit. But they're played by different actors, so they're not even carrying that much of the slack. But but yeah, like Jaren, of course, is a great Jaren in that couple. His wife, I don't know the character names. You guys seem to know him, but
his wife's name is Patricia.
Patricia,
she's a therapist.
Well, yeah, and then like her kind of the never-ending joke of her saying like, "Hey, maybe we should talk about this after, something that unfathomable happens." You're like, let's unpack this. It's just like let's get out of here. But
no, I mean, as it starts to ramp up, 30, 40 minutes in, I would assume, as the premise is fully laid out, all the characters are there, the kids are starting to get older. It's just a thrill ride for about an hour straight at that point. It's just like, how many different ways can you scare the characters, shock the audience, just make people uncomfortable over and over? And he finds all these new ways to do it, and also to get closer to the characters, to make that final scene with the core family together hit on such an emotional level.
I mean, some of the things we see our characters go through, or certain, of course, a big one, the pregnancy or whatever, and like kind of the teenage goofiness of all that happening is, it shows one side, and him kind of going through that, and I guess having, that woman, his girlfriend die eventually too, is a whole lot to soak in. But even Maddox, is that her name? The daughter, it's kind of a smaller stuff, but like, when she's just talking with mid-sized sedan, just kind of like small notes here and there that kind of just I don't know, I think are perfect for like kind of like the tone or whatever. You think is like, are they gonna like start dating, or you know what I mean?
He's
like,
giving her some looks.
Yeah. And I think that's,
she's what, 19 and old time at that point. Look, I'm not, this isn't the Claire's Knee episode.
Yeah, looking up the age.
Mid-sized sedan on his phone,
doing the math, the science. But I think, I don't know, I just think that ambiguity, just that little thing M. Night kind of throws in, she's grown up. She has conflicting emotions, and
Yeah,
like,
and he like somewhat sets it up in the very beginning that when they're first at that resort, and Trent is hanging out with Idlib, the nephew of the resort owner.
Yeah.
Idlib is the MVP of the movie.
Idlib. I
My
said this
favorite
to
child performance in a long time.
I said this to Eddie while we're watching the movie. On second watch, it's like, dude, this. Like, love Idlib, but it's like, why the fuck is Idlib there, dude? That's suspect as fuck. We got to free the children.
Yeah. when his uncle.
Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on in the old island.
Yeah, in the first 10 minutes when his uncle grabs him, like, and we had seen the movie once already, Malcolm just leads over and we're just like, this is the most sus part of the movie. And it's like, yeah, Idlib's definitely seen some shit. You feel bad for him, but he's also a very funny and cute character.
Oh, yeah. Just the way M. Night could kind of hit notes that might be, a little too schmaltzy in the hands of another filmmaker. Kind of like the note being like, let's have an ice cream contest.
Yeah.
That gave me just like, a little childish smile to my face.
Oh, I love how he portrays childhood and its strangeness and its adventures,
Well, I think, hey, getting old is weird.
And how he plays with the notion of like a 50-year-old, like 6-year-old. Like they're there on the beach before they make that like final breakthrough. I mean, there's so like that when there's the last moments winding down with the family, that's all so beautiful, but just the moments of them being like, let's build a sandcastle.
Yeah.
And it's like you can kind of buy it in both ways of where it's like, okay, they like actually are like feeling like 50-year-olds now and just sort of like reliving a childish moment, or they're like they still have a childish mindset. And it's just I don't know, it's such a beautiful scene, and like he plays with the big high concept premise in so many interesting ways that are like, I don't know, we're talking about a variety of tones, and he just goes all over the place.
What I was going to say earlier when I brought up Idlib is that early on, you see Trent playing with him while Maddox is like near some like older teenagers that are at the resort and just kind of looking at them, and like you feel kind of bad 'cause she's like clearly not at that point, and then 8 hours later she's like 25 years old and mid-sized sedan is like comforting her or whatever. And it's a lot to process for all of these characters. There's some there's some lines that are very obvious about it. We never had a graduation or a prom or whatever someone says, but it's when the family is together as the sun's going down, and Creeps and Creeps and Bernal are like very old and dying, that all of that stuff does set in, and this like collapsing of time becomes it's emotional the whole way through, but that emotion is mainly fear and surprise, but it takes a very different emotional turn at that moment.
No, yeah, them kind of just looking at each other, and M. Night kind of milking, getting old as a concept for whatever it's worth. Towards the back end of the movie, he's playing with the sound design, which we haven't mentioned yet, with Cripes only hearing in one ear, Bernal getting extremely blurry vision, and he uses this to great effect. And I think it sells some of the emotional points of the movies. You can't see his kids anymore.
Yeah.
But
it was so funny seeing people in that. But first of all, folks, I know we're happy to be back at the movies, but calm down. You're not at home. A lot of terrible audiences since I've been back to the movies. The first time I saw it, one guy in front of me, like the first time it goes out of focus for the POV shots from Bernal, he says he's blind.
Some people have that. That's just in them, bro.
He's blind. And my favorite was, I was trying to get at this moment because it is very strange when Maddox is kind of talking about how much she's developed in the last hour mentally to mid-sized sedan. And she says something along the lines of like her thoughts used to have a lot of colors in them and now they have less colors, but they're stronger. And when we saw it together, a guy right behind me, when that line happened, he just goes, "What?"
No. When I saw it with you guys, there's a guy to the right of me who was he had kind of similar to you, where just reacting to like, well, that's not good, And I kind of like that to an extent. It really just
never like it.
It depends on the performance of the theater goer. Some people are better than others.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sometimes
That's all I
we
gotta
got
say.
some young mystery science theater cast members on our hand, and I would like them ejected from the theater every time.
I hate this. Yeah, I don't want snark. But if it's like just like
Yeah, Malcolm and I both had to at various points stop Eddie from running out to tell the ushers to get people ejected.
True, he was asking their names and writing them down and stuff like that.
What's your name and occupation?
Cancel culture, man.
Yeah.
It's even in the theater.
Oh yeah, I mean, old is all about holding people accountable.
Well,
I mean, we could talk more about the fun and games of what happens on the island, but if you haven't seen the movie, save some of the thrills for yourself.
Yeah.
The racist doctor who, as he gets more old and more schizophrenic, becomes more racist is insane. It's insanely dark and funny. And when he first accuses mid-sized sedan, like, it's right when Patricia and Jaren show up, and Patricia essentially to camera says, "Oh, I don't like this dynamic." And I don't know, Shyamalan's humor has always been so like kind of corny, but in a way that always gets me. Like, it always breaks through the corniness and gets me like on the base level that he's intending. It's not like an irony thing or anything like that. Like, his corny humor always gets me for some reason.
I mean, yeah, and you look at the racist doctor here, you know what I mean? Or even just
and what he does with his, beyond just his mental disordered racism, his other disorder of every time he needs to do something important, he is forgetting the name of the movie where Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando were together.
that one's for the film fans.
That one's for the film fans out there.
Film fans, keep on rocking.
When he brings that up the first time, it's when he's gonna excise a tumor from Vicky Krieps, and that scene is so fucking crazy, man. Like, seeing that wound open and shut again, and then they have to fucking put their hands into the incision to hold her skin open to remove this tumor, and it's just like this brown ball like the size of a watermelon. It's so fucking gross, man. Some of the body horror stuff in this film is disgusting.
Yeah, because it's like, even that, or, kind of in the end with the vein lady in the cave. You know what I mean?
Just becoming fucking pretzel legs.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like that even, the snarksters and some of the rows, that even took them aback. They're like, whoa.
Hey, I thought this movie was bad, but at least it's a little fucked up.
Yeah, it's a little fucked up. Give you some imagery to work with.
That was a bad crowd and like a bad performance by the projectionist, I will say. That was like incredibly because I saw it in Dolby the first time, and like, first of all, the sound sounds way better in there than it did in the screen we saw it on the second time, but also it looked like it wasn't matted properly. It looked a little more tall than 2.35. Maybe that was just me, but looked a little more I know, I feel like fucking Truffaut, and is it Masculine Feminine, where he complains about the aspect ratio being wrong, or not Truffaut, fucking Jean-Pierre Léaud. Look,
Truffaut Jr.
If you follow these movies,
True. We're just
you would
clarifying.
Understand,
Clarifying for the rookies out there.
Anyway, so we should get into the ending, though, because it is pretty crazy. It's revealed first that M. Night, as he was playing the guy who drives them from the resort to this beach, has been recording them like the filmmaker that he is. And so he goes back into this mysterious lab and drops off all the footage that he had been recording when it seems like all of our characters had died when the main brother and sister are swimming into the coral that Idlib's uncle doesn't like, as the final puzzle reveals. It's then revealed that this lab has been doing like clinical trials of new medicine on these people, and it is very I don't know, a lot of people don't like this ending. I think it's interesting. I think it's strange. I think there's a lot of ways you could read into it. I think there's some very cynical ways that people have read into it so far.
It's anti-vax propaganda.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. We're going to be the first to say it. If you're vaccinated, don't go see this movie. And if you fucking hate police officers like us, don't go see this movie.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, it's this big pharma corporation. Hey, when did we stop hating big pharma? I know they're giving us the vaccines and we're using them, but like, come on, these are still the bad guys.
It's an anti-vaccination dog whistle.
This is how they tested Moderna. This is how they got the vax out so fast. They did it on the old island.
That's true. That's true. You see the lifetime side effect in one day. You know, look, I can get behind this business model from a businessman perspective. From a customer, no way. But as a businessman, I understand the hustle.
We got to stop. Animals they're not humans. So we don't know.
These people were selected together because they all had an illness that doesn't quite have a cure. And so, you know, they found the cure for epilepsy, but at the cost of these people's lives. And it's a classic, you know, kind of ambiguous twist ending. It doesn't prescribe you one way or another to think. You know, M. Night's movies are often laden with social messages, you know, thinking about like the ones he made in the Bush era and the way that we perceived outsiders, and the media was, you know, part of that. And of course with The Happening, with, you know, environmental awareness and the earth striking back, as it were. And, you know, all of his movies have these through lines, but none of them are like particularly prescriptive. So I don't think you should be looking to old for, you know, the answers to both like the age-old questions of time's passage and the ethics of big pharma.
I think also what's interesting about this twist, maybe more so than his, you know, people always say he has a lot of twists. There's a lot less in his filmography than you think, but you know, he does like to take a little detour towards the back end of his movies for sure.
He likes a nice reveal in the third act.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
It's classic stuff. But like with this one, it feels like almost so separate from what's been going on the entire movie that it maybe anticlimactic is the wrong word, but it really does kind of like, in terms of like tonal variation, and it's like, well, now the rug's pulled out from under you. You know what I mean? All this old nonsense. You're like, okay, you know, at the age 20 years and 20 hours, you know, you're doing the math. You're like, okay, I think I get this. And then you're like, oh, it's like a pharmaceutical company. And you're like, huh.
And I mean, he does that pullback, but then also like goes back to the meat and potatoes of it all, the bond between the two siblings. And I love how he like cuts out, like, I mean, obviously like one is suspenseful. I mean, you kind of have a feeling they're going to be alive at the end, but just the I don't know, the reveal of their miraculous escape is like such a beautiful, like hopeful moment you get there of them like coming to the light out from under the coral.
I mean, I love that shot of like, it's because there's like maybe like the last like minute of the movie, 2 minutes of the movie, you feel like any shot is going to be the ending shot.
Yeah.
And that one, maybe my favorite. I don't tell M. Night how to steer a ship, but probably my favorite of those shots is like the cop walking in the background, and then the camera pulls back to reveal.
Oh
like,
my God, yeah.
Idlib touching, you know, our old boy's face, and I don't know. Yeah, I mean, just the imagery of that, and kind of like, that euphoric moment of like, you know, we made it, is, you know, so perfectly illustrated in that shot.
Yeah, so Trent, who as a little boy was fixated on asking people what they did for a living, comes back the next day as a 50-year-old, remembering that there was a cop staying at the resort. And so he gets the cop the book full of victims, and the cop starts the proceedings or whatever, and like, you know, arrests will be made or whatever. It's like, and I'm sorry, I don't know how you can interpret that as being, you know, pro-con, you know, after what we've been through this year, you're really going to watch this movie?
Hey, man, you know, I make propaganda for a living, man. I help it out.
Yeah, Malcolm does. This podcast is now funded by propaganda. It's kind of like an inverse Spike Lee situation where they gave him money to do some stuff.
That's true.
One of us is getting money from one of the major propaganda outlets. But we're not going to say what it is.
Yeah.
I might cut
Thank you.
I might cut this part.
Nah,
too.
that's fine. That's fine. But hey,
I also like we don't need to get into that whole thing. Like I think
I
was
mean,
just
it's fucking stupid.
Yeah,
Like,
it was just like something people were posting on Twitter. It's like I
Yeah,
don't
it's
think
not a-
I
not a
don't
real
think
thing.
that's like gonna contribute to the overall view of how people saw this movie. Even if the reviews are mixed on the whole, like 5 years from now, that's not gonna be like, oh, old. Yeah, that was that movie people didn't like because of what it implied at the end.
sure. I've been ear to the street, me, and I've been asking people. People seem to like old. People seem to like old.
good
At
to
least
hear.
the people I know.
yeah, the common man.
The
I'm
common
out on
man.
the street, like talking to the common man, people I
Yeah.
work with. They love it.
I saw my little brother and he was like ready to like make fun of it with me, and I was like, oh, this isn't one of those parties, man.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? He's not a working man.
He's a
Your
child. man.
hoity-toity elite brother.
Put him on the old island. Let's see how he feels about it. Then.
I think reminiscent of his big brother, he may have just been scared.
That's true.
And in denial of the film's greatness because of a general fear of the very concept of a horror movie.
It runs in the family.
It runs in the family. Runs in the family. My children will have the same disease. Hey, maybe put some scaredy cats on the old island, see if some experimental medicine doesn't help.
That's true.
I give this 4 doses of whatever medicine the Warren to Warren company, which is the medical company. Also, the Warren to Warren logo, or I think it's just Warren logo, looks a lot like the Weinstein Film Company logo.
True.
Harvey Weinstein suppressed M. Night's first real feature before he sold the Sixth Sense script. Maybe. Hey, there's a reading there. I'm not positing that as the reading. But I'm just floating out for the conspiracy headed film analyzers out there.
I mean,
There's some threads to pull.
the reveal is like it's a shot of him like pulling back from the camera.
Yeah, M. Night is complicit in a terrifying, terrible system. But he got to make some cool movies out of it.
True.
Got that huge ass lens on those kids drowning. That is sick. That reveal of M. Night like splitting the CinemaScope frame with that giant lens is so sick.
No, yeah, it's great, and he got to make much as the Warren to Warren company made some great medicine. He did too. He made the antidote to all the fake shit out there. But I'm gonna give this 4 bullets as well. I mean I've seen it a couple times. I could definitely see myself watching it again. It has like a high rewatch value too. I would say.
I already want to watch it again. Yeah.
I don't know, like there's a lot of threads, a lot of variation of tones, like I've said like 5 times already. To just pick at to where you could like, I don't know, you can enjoy this movie on so many levels. You could just laugh with it. You could be scared by it. You'll probably do all of the above. So JT, what do you think?
I'm gonna give it 4 bullets, and I don't know. I love how I think isn't the final shot sort of like just the waves in the ocean. You know what? I think there might be even some thematic unity with the ocean and a movie that we'll be talking about next week.
Oh, I thought you were just going to talk about like with old.
No, I with Iguana.
It really
be talking
with
about
our
it,
Patreon episode.
Our Patreon episode. You know what? If you loved us talking about old, we're going to talk about another movie with a lot of ocean water.
I mean, it is like like I didn't do this intentionally, because I picked out the Patreon, and Iguana kind of has a similar conceit.
Island
that
vibes.
It takes place in the island. Negative island vibes. That's where all about.
Dark Jimmy Buffett.
Well, you know what he was up to.
well,
Cheeseburger in paradise.
we'll be right back on extended clip.
I'll wash away someday. No man you miss made in my name. There is no life I trade. You are my reason to remain.
You though, if you're a little tired.
Look, bro, I'm down to chill if you're down to chill. I didn't say anything about getting tired.
That's true. I didn't even look at for your react.
You think I'm the first one to sleep at the sleepover? You're goddamn wrong.
I'm
Just kidding. I go to sleep earlier than both of you. Usually.
Not anymore, man.
When do you go to bed?
Well, until recently, I was going to bed at like 9 or 10 most nights.
Okay.
I guess that's what
I've
I
been
do now.
staying up a little later though. I'm kind of in a bad boy.
Late night. Hey man,
Hell yeah.
I miss the late night. I'm gonna enjoy tonight, dude. The late night.
Enjoy tonight. We're back on extended clip, and if you forgot from us plugging it earlier already, we will say one last time that patreon.com/extended clip is where you will find a weekly bonus episode as well as a monthly edition of our internet publication, the Extended Clip PDF Club. Our most recent bonus episode is on Café Lumiere by Ho Xiao Shen, and our next one is on Iguana by the late, great Monty Hellman. Okay, time for Malcolm in the Middle. You watched anything recently?
Yeah, I did, and I watched a movie called Birth. Stars Nicole Kidman.
Okay.
Directed by Johnny Glazer, and we got I guess another late great Harry Savides as a cinematographer, and I thought this movie was all right. Savides elevated it to another level. Do you guys have any opinions on Jonathan Glazer?
Never seen one of his feature films.
I like Under the Skin.
I remember seeing that like back when it dropped and liking it. I guess that seems so long ago for me.
Yeah, I really
What,
liked it
like
when
2015.
Yeah.
I really liked it when it came out, and I think my opinion of it has like diminished a little bit, but it's fun.
That is true, and I didn't rewatch it, but for some reason, like, I think
I just don't
yeah.
trust myself from a few years ago.
I think
I don't trust you at all.
I think we're right to do that. We grow, we see the past, we see the future ahead of us.
I've seen so many more movies since then. It's like there are new things shock and amuse me.
JT's always looking for that new fix.
And that's what I was doing while watching Birth. And to be honest, it starts out strong. There's kind of like well, I don't even. You know what? Let me tell you what it's about. We got Nicole Kidman, widow, husband died. 10 years pass. There's this other guy who we haven't really seen, but he's been trying to get her to marry her for like 10 years. She eventually, agrees to it. Then, lo and behold, a little 10-year-old kid starts, showing up to her very rich apartment complex and claiming that he's Sean, who was, her husband back in the day. Kind of unfolds from there. And I don't know, the original first third-ish of the movie is kind of like you don't know what the stakes are. There's just kind of this creepy kid who's obsessed with Nicole Kidman and is like keeps showing up, and you're like, that's kind of tension filled, you know what I mean? That's kind of uncomfortable. And it's I don't know. I liked where it was going. It kind of had like a kind of a very like it was shown like upper class New York, kind of like visually just like in a very drab kind of unpleasant way. Savides kind of finding good times to like kind of frame shots in ways that are just kind of uncomfortable, and then kind of like the whole plot unravels and I just don't care anymore. So that's, I liked where it was beginning, and then it just kind of took a direction and I couldn't give less of a fuck. But Peter Stormare, very good performance in that, where he just plays a friend of the deceased husband. And I don't know, I usually see Peter Stormare play hulking villains, and it was nice just to see him play just a regular guy. Mm-hmm. So if you want to see that, check out Birth.
Hey, I know there's a lot of Stromarians in our extended clip Discord. You search Stromare in there, you get eons worth of conversation. JT, did you see anything this week that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I did. I always, when I'm watching things during my week, it's like one of these guys I'm going to have to talk about.
A little peek behind the curtain.
Exactly. And so you want to pick something, you want to watch interesting things, so you have something good to talk about.
That's so true, man.
and I do have something interesting and good to talk about. It's Do Bigazamin by Bimal Roy. It's a 1953 Indian film that, at least as the Wikipedia page has told me, Bimal Roy had seen Bicycle Thieves, and it's like, this neo-realism thing, that's pretty nasty with it. That's cool. And it's about this like it's a really fucking miserable movie. But like it looks beautiful, and it's I don't know, a great ride through extreme poverty. It's starts off in the countryside, where this family, it owns like 2 acres of land, and the like sort of the master, the lord of the land, who owns a bunch of stuff around it, is like, hey, like, it's time to fucking industrialize. We need your 2 acres of land, so you better give it up now, or the like tough shit. You got to give it up now, or we're gonna call in all of your debts from when the harvest was not great and when you had to borrow fucking money from me. And the patriarch Shambu is like, this is all I have. Like, my family has lived on this land forever. This is all we fucking got. And he is kind of forced to like sell all of his shit to get enough money to pay off his debts, so he can like rightfully like stake his claim for the land. But he doesn't have enough money, so he has to hole up his son, and they're going to Calcutta because the streets are paved with gold there. Except not really. The city life is worse than the countryside. It's awful. People are scamming you. They like get their money stolen like the first night, and wind up in the poorhouse. And he like winds up like working as like a rickshaw operator, which is kind of cool. I mean, there's some crazy rickshaw stuff in this, which is and I was curious about that lifestyle, you know. You
Get your steps in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think I would be good as a rickshaw kind of guy, but you got to consider yourself in that lifestyle every now and then. But it's I don't know. He goes to the city and just gets more deeply entrenched in debt. And you can imagine where this goes. It's not all that positive. It's a very negative ending. But I don't know. It's beautiful in how bleak it is, and I don't know, pretty true to life. Like, I think like people fucking off and moving to the city like to make it or like get more money, you usually like, it's fucking expensive in the city, and you can dig yourself into a real fucking hole.
That's my family origins. The Okies, bro. What do you know about the Okies?
I don't know anything about.
Did your
Okies.
great grandfather like do a rickshaw?
No, well,
in Oakland,
it's Grapes of Wrath, dude. You ever seen the movie Grapes of Wrath?
No,
Yes.
I haven't read the book either.
And I've read the book.
Well, the Oklahoma Dust
Well,
Bowl.
I guess JT.
Let me talk to you for a second, then, JT. The Oklahoma Dust Bowl of the 1800s. I guess that's where my great grandpa came from, and that's why they went California way. But
did they like not strike it rich then?
I mean, I don't know.
So they just all you know is that they came from the Okies and came to California.
No, I mean, I think everyone had to. It wasn't as because there's like just a Dust Bowl fucked everything up, and I mean, they made it work for sure. You know, they made it work. But I think there was some struggle, man. There was some struggle. But now I'm enjoying the fruits of that struggle, I guess. So Grapes of Wrath, JT's movie. Both two movies recommend on this segment. Eddie, what did you watch this week?
Oh, I watched quite a few movies this week. You know, I actually watched some kind of like all-time classics. I watched like Awara. I watched Journey to Italy, Hiroshima Mon Amour, The Big Heat. But I'm going to talk about a real clunker. A movie that should have had a little more clinking of armor, if you catch my drift. If maybe you've seen something like Lancelot du Lac, and you are very disappointed, like I was, by The Green Knight. Now, The Green Knight, I really wanted to give this a fair shake. You know, sometimes you go to the movies. Sometimes it's not exactly your choice. What you're
We always
see.
Want to love the movies.
Yeah. And so you're going to the movies, you got your big soda. Oh, trust me. I saw this thing on the A-list, got my free upgrade on my soda. We're talking about 64 ounces of Diet Coke. And I think 64 ounces of Diet Coke makes this boy very happy. Very easy to please, too.
Already in a good mood.
So this movie, I mean...
I had a wonderful day at the beach beforehand.
That's nice.
That's good.
That's good.
I was in such high spirits.
No sunburn.
No sunburn. Look
That's
at me.
good. That's good. Yeah, sure.
You don't look sunburned at all.
Unburned. Yeah, tan.
No, I don't look.
And then you roll into the theater, you get a big Coke. Big
Yeah.
Diet Coke.
Day's just a huge fucking W.
Speaking of which, they have taken the touchscreen capabilities off of the Freestyle Coke machine at this AMC, and you QR code it on your phone, and your phone becomes a soda remote control. I have never seen anything like this before, but let me tell you, folks, I was having way too much fun with my phone being a soda remote.
Well, hey, welcome to the future, people.
But all good things must come to an end, and such was my visit to the AMC Marina something in the Orange County region. I'm not going to say where I was.
You kind of just did. Yeah. But hey, I
It's
don't.
vague enough. It's vague enough.
Yeah.
The movie, like I was on board with it for the first like half hour. It like took me a while. I knew within like 5 minutes that the kind of slow master shot style was not quite going to work for me because I guess I just don't share Sir David Lowery's taste
Is
for
he a sir?
compositions. I believe this movie got him knighted.
Well, you know what? Even if the movie stinks, I got to give him credit. That's a pretty sick title.
But then you get this freaking monster, the Green Knight himself, and it's like, okay, this is gonna be like a monster movie, you know? But not really, because like the lighting is so bad that you can't see how green he is. Talk about, you know, John Ford movies, Grapes of Wrath. What about how green was my monster? This monster, he's the knight, by the way, but he's a monster. He didn't look very green at all. He was quite dark, and I
What's
know that
going on
it
in
could
this
be
movie?
a lot, some projection issues at the theater I was at. But I will say,
you might need to unsubscribe from A-List, man. They're doing me dirty.
no, the interiors of this movie are fucking, I'm going to say not lit whatsoever. Like, it looks like there's literally no lighting whatsoever. And you're just kind of cranking the ISO on the digital camera a little bit. And I get that you want, like, realism, like, you know, the Barry Lyndon thing where they didn't use any, like, modern light sources. They just use, like, the sun and candles. There's some more candles in this movie. Throw like 100 more candles in every scene of this movie because you're hiding all of the production design. I'm going to this like this lavish period piece, you know, made on a sneaky budget of like 15 million or something like that. I still want to see some like period set design. You know, I felt a little shortchanged in that regard. Like in a movie where I'm just not on board with the general style and the narrative, at least if it's like a big period epic type movie, I want to be able to luxuriate in those typical things. But instead, you get this creepy CGI fox who's his friend, and you get like, you know, a few scenes of passion that are not very good, but you know, the shot heard around the world was pretty funny, you know, because it happens on this like sacred belt or something, and he's like, now it's just a filthy rag. Boys, you ever come on your fancy belt that your mom gave you that you will never be struck down while wearing?
You know, I've never you describing this movie. I've heard people talk about it, and I'm just like, well, there's actually like the Knight's a monster. Like I don't know, but I've heard about the cum, dude. I've heard about the cum.
I
Yeah.
like
a lot of sluts out there. That's all I gotta say.
Well, no, it speaks for itself that there's nothing else to fucking talk
That's
about
true.
with that movie. It's just so so it's like, yeah, he enters this contract with the Green Knight, and at this point, I'm on board with the movie. I think this is actually kind of a cool setup. It's like, you know, he gets to behead the Green Knight, and then he finds out that this Green Knight monster can fucking, you know, put his head back on and still live. He's like, well, 1 year from now, you got to come to my pad, and I'm going to do the same to you. And so the whole movie is him just like waiting out this year. And it feels purposely anti-dramatic and anticlimactic and anti-everything. It's like this revisionist kind of thing. And it's like, I get that. Maybe these old-timey tales are kind of, you know, chauvinist rather than chivalrous. But no. I hate it. I kind of hated it. Like an hour in, I was still ready to give it the pass, and then like by the time the third act rolls around, I'll save the details for you to watch it if you really want to. But it got just a little too ridiculous, and there's these cutesy title cards that you can't even fucking read. That's my biggest pet peeve. I thought Yorgos Lanthimos' The Favorite was the worst offender of this in the last decade, but there's these chapter titles in this movie that flash on screen like rather quickly and are in old-timey font, and there's one of them that I started just fucking laughing. I went full Joker mode. I went full Max Cady watching Problem Child in Cape Fear mode. I just started busting up in the theater because I can't read this shit. What the fuck is this? How are people taking this seriously reading this shit? Maybe I got to get my vision checked.
True. Well, I think people are like, that's cool. That's cool. Like that old timey text.
If anyone
man,
can
that's
tell
cool.
me what it was, well, it's a good transition to the last segment. You can email it to extendedclippodcast@gmail.com. The chapter card was like an exchange of, and then it just was a very vague combination of L's and I's that just looked like a series of lines. And I was like, can't make heads or tails of this.
That sounds unpleasant. Please send us emails.
There's no emails.
There's no emails.
I love emails.
There hasn't been any emails for months. And I just
there was shout out to the Meet the Romare guy email last week. That
That's
made
true.
me confident that we would have a good email this week.
Yeah, I want to go Armin mode again.
That's true. JT's been going Armin mode. People have been going through the backlogs. We like that. I don't know, man. I really wanted to answer some questions.
Yeah, I'm
So,
I'm
send them
thirsty
over.
for some questions. Call me out.
I'm
Call
always
us out.
thirsty.
Let's pad out the podcast. Send some questions.
Once again, that is at extendedclippodcast@gmail.com. Next week,
Ooh, I could see Eddie's laptop screen already. I'm excited.
we are going to talk about the masterpiece of laughter and tears from the master of comedy. That's the tagline according to Letterboxd. JT, can you see what it is?
No, I can't.
Can you guess who this master is?
I have no idea.
What's that book right there on the counter? What do I read every day like a damn Bible?
Yes. A film by Charles Chaplin.
The autobiography of that little tramp. And I'm rounding the corner on this one, so it's finally time for me to watch Limelight.
Oh yeah.
A film about a fading music hall comedian. Oh, that sounds familiar from reading his bio. Oh, we'll save it for the podcast. But you know what?
Hey guys, I initially picked like a short film to go with Limelight, a Chaplin short, The Adventurer, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do a real double feature, and it's going to be Limelight and Hardly Working by Jerry Lewis. Bye.